Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
It's got a lot of power.
Come on, Greg. You're asking a guy whose team name is Pellet Envy. So obviously the answer you're going to get is no.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
Charbono. It's all about the Charbono, dude. I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
How hot is Kelly Ripa in person?
Kelly Ripa is super hot. She's absolutely delicious.
Oh, yeah.
You could butter bake her and plank Twinkies with that girl. She's delish.
Well, to put it briefly, let's just say I went to school.
There's no Robert Porker who's in charge of pig meat out there.
Is it not correct to properly classify you as Harry Sue's pit bitch?
I was his pit bitch for 6 weeks. I had no shame. I was. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
Succulent fish. What?
This right here is the premier media outlet.
So did you see this one? Tiger Woods has gone ahead and checked into sex rehab. Hey, Tiger, guess what? Everybody's addicted to sex.
I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
All right, let's get this bitch started. There we go. Harry Carey getting what is tantamount to hate mail. Randy Morris writing in, Harry Carey sucks, no barbecue. You ain't right in the head, man. Well, I agree. Harry Carey is, well, dead. He's dead, basically, is what I'm trying to say, folks. So he's not right in the head because he's got no brains. There's nothing working there. He's dead. When you're dead, you are indeed dead. So here's what we can do. During the course of John Nilges' interview segment, since we do have an extensive prize closet to win, just go ahead and start randomly calling in. And you can do that, 877-448-0433. This is going to be as fun as getting on the four-segment free-for-all and trying to answer what is really tantamount to easy questions and potential embarrassment in front of the millions and millions of Centralites. No, of course it's not. But this allows me to get the prizes out that the sponsors have graciously donated, so we're going to have to do that anyway. So if you want a prize, call in 877-448-0433, 877-448-0433 during this portion of the show, and we will get you hooked up. And again, we have wood smoke products from Greenleaf Barbecue. We have frog mats. We have T-shirts from Whiskey Bent Barbecue and Early Times, which is the sponsor of Do-Rag Barbecue. Also, the Cosmos Q injection pack as well. So if you are just beside yourself that you didn't know what one team in the NBA playoffs is currently, I live in Cleveland. The best team in basketball happens to live in Cleveland, called the Cleveland Cavaliers. You kidding me? You kidding me? Yeah! Finally, something to be happy about in the world of Cleveland. All right, let's go to the hotline. Joining me now is a competition barbecue team competing in the Kansas City Barbecue Society, currently ranked second in the KCBS for Team of the Year points overall, 13th overall Team of the Year, 2009 and 2008, and fresh off an 8th place finish in Hazelwood, Missouri. It's none other than Pitmaster of Parrot Head Smokers, John Nilges, joining us here on the Barbecue Central Show After Dark. John, how are you?
Well, fantastic. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, John, and I'm glad I stuck with it for those extra 3 or 4 minutes. So, first of all, let's go ahead and get a little history about you. John, have you always been a barbecue guy, even growing up, or is it something that's been around the family? And how does that kind of evolve into a competition for you?
Boy, I'll tell you, I started about 7-8 years ago, and I guess I've just always loved, eating the stuff, and had multiple pits in the backyard, and a local guy, kept coming over that was competing at the time and said, it's pretty good, you ought to give it a go, and finally talked me into my first competition over in State Center, Iowa about 8 years ago, and I guess I've just kind of been hooked ever since.
So you're up in South Dakota. Now, when I think of that, I didn't even actually know that South Dakota had people living there. I thought it was like someplace that the map makers just stuck up there to take up space on paper. But, I mean, it's not necessarily known as one of the barbecue hotbeds up there, is it?
No, not really. We, we're known more for pheasants and walleye fishing than we are for barbecue, that's for sure.
All right, so aside from yourself, who's making up Parrot Head Smokers?
Well, that's it. I am. I am it. I'm the chief cook, bottle washer, the driver, the meat buyer, you name it. I do it all. And I used to have a guy that used to go with me a few years ago, and his boy now is a little bit older, and he's coaching baseball now. So I'm pretty much it.
There you go. So now this makes the next question even a little bit more interesting. You look up and down team names, especially on KCBS and so forth, and you see a number of wacky names out there, and certainly Parrot Head Smokers is unique in its own right. Now, is it a stretch to assume that there's an affinity for Jimmy Buffett somewhere, and is that part played a role in how the team got its name?
No, that's exactly how the team got its name. Did my first Kansas City barbecue contest years ago, and of course, the first thing they ask you is your team name, and it was just kind of a panic moment, and well, why not? Jimmy Buffett, Parrot Heads, cigars, a little bit of wine, and margaritas, and that seemed to fit. And every year I say I'm going to change the name, and I guess I'm just not smart enough to come up with anything any better.
Well, it seems to be working out just fine for you. And are you a Parrot Head in the essence? I mean, have you gone and viewed Jimmy Buffett in concert in any number of different venues across this great country?
Yeah, we've seen him twice. I went to Kansas City and once in St. Louis, and hopefully maybe this summer we'll take a week or two off of doing this barbecue thing and make another concert before he decides to hang it up.
How many competitions you guys doing in the course of a year?
Probably as few as 12, and then as many about 3 or 4 years ago. I probably did 25 that year.
25. So you're looking at more towards the 12 to 15 range this year, then?
No, I'm at about 8 already. So no, we'll probably be. It's time to take, when you just go week after week after week and you're doing it on your own, when it starts to become work for me, then I know it's time to take a few weeks off or sell all my equipment and take a month off and then just start over.
There you go. We're talking
done that a few times too.
Oh, sure. We're talking with John Nilges, Parrot Head Smokers Pitmaster, currently ranked second in the KCBS Team of the Year race. And John, I mentioned that. I know it's still early in the season, doing very well, as I mentioned, second currently overall in Team of the Year. Did you make any adjustments to your cooking style or anything like that during the break between December and start again there towards the end of January of 2010?
Not really. I think I tweaked my pork a little bit, kind of the sauce that I'm using, and chicken's always been strong for me the last few years. I'm not going to change that much. Ribs I struggle with, and I would guess that's changed almost weekly. And brisket, no, haven't really changed that much. So a little here, a little there.
So when you look at the score sheets that come in week after week and you see your scores kind of vary here and there, are you always expecting there to be some type of variance depending on where you're at in the country and what competition you're at? Or if you see a certain amount happen during the course of a 3 or 4 week span, will you then take a look at that category or categories and go back over and kind of rethink your process or write out the process like I've heard some other cooks do in order to get those categories back in shape?
I usually kind of go by, I guess, about a 4-week rule for me. If I just get hammered in 4 contests in a row in a certain category, then I'll start. Then I'll kind of start looking for something new. But boy, I don't know. I hate to change up too much. It seems like as soon as you change something, it'll work for a while, and then 2 months down the road, it'll die off again. So I think as long as you're not out there with something too wild, you just hope for the best. I've quit getting upset years ago at judges, and many times I'll go to a contest, I don't even look at the score sheet. It is what it is, and you go home and get ready for the next one.
One of the questions I've always wanted to ask, I just never have, and I'm thinking about it right now, so I figure I'd ask you. You hear cooks all the time talking about you need to learn how to cook the food first and then worry about your flavor profile. Okay, so let's say we've gotten that first part ironed out and we like the way we're cooking, and so do the judges. I mean, how do you go about building a flavor profile for your team or for each individual category? Because you hear time and time again from competition cooks, I don't eat my competition barbecue, or the barbecue that I cook at home is indeed no way the stuff that I would cook to eat for myself at home that I do at competition. So how do you build a flavor profile in order to succeed in competition barbecue?
Boy, that's a tough question. I've talked to a lot of friends that do the barbecue thing, and that's been a subject lately. Is what are we doing, turning in stuff that we don't like? I don't get it, and I'm guilty of that too. There's a few things that I turn in that I wouldn't necessarily do at home, and I'm not sure why we're doing it for competition.
So, I mean, do the judges know?
Judges have just gotten to the point where they're looking for such a narrow, defined, a little bit of heat, a little bit of sweet. It's got to look this way. And I don't know if we're just all trying to put the same peg in the same hole here, and maybe that's why we don't necessarily like what we're turning in.
Do you think that the judges don't really know? You hear all the time about judges or the general public not knowing what a good rib would taste like because they've been served what I call the meat mush from Damon's or Chili's or wherever the mass marketplaces are that have kind of given that fall off the bone credibility to what a good rib is. Same thing for pork or brisket even. Do the judges in competition know what good barbecue should taste like, and would you not even dare turn in what you would like at a competition in fear that it would just tank altogether?
I think if I'm going to a contest and I'm going to a first-year contest with inexperienced judges, I am going to go very tender and fairly sweet. You talk to most people off the street, first-year judges or not, and you say, well, where did you go for barbecue? What did you like? And the first thing out of their mouth, every single time, it's not going to be, it tasted of smoke, it tasted of spice. Oh, man, that meat fell off the bone.
Right.
That's the first thing they will always tell you. and so those first-year contests, second-year contests, I'm going something that's fairly simple, sweet and tender. And I would rather cook a contest that's been established for a few years that has good judges and maybe a little more experience in that you're not turning in that product like that.
All right, so in talking in established competitions, there's two that come to mind immediately. One is the American Royal Invitational, the second one being Jack Daniels. These are well-established, well-sought-after to win, but one is, got a ton of judges that you need to have in order to properly judge it, that being the American Royal, and then Jack Daniels, of course, it's not KCBS. Well, it's such a gray area. It's not KCBS judge, but it's judged like KCBS, and they kind of get trained, but there's no points to it if you win. All that great stuff. And there's a lot of celebrity or food bloggers or food media judging the Jack Daniels. When you go to those two competitions, are you cooking differently than you would at some of the other more established and smaller barbecue events?
The American Royal, I definitely am not. I cook down in that Kansas City area a lot, and I'm not going to change it for the Royal. And we've done, pretty well down there the last few years, and I'm not going to change it there at all. The Jack has been a mystery to me for a few years. We've just gone down and just gotten clobbered. And the last couple of years done a little bit better. And I don't know that we've really changed a whole lot. Every weekend that you go out here, it's you just got to get lucky and get on the right table and like I said, the roll I'm not going to change anything at all. And the jack maybe, I don't know, make it a little bit sweeter, southern thing maybe.
John Nilges, Parrot Head Smokers, Pitmaster, joining us here on the Barbecue Central Show after dark. John, what kind of cookers are you using?
Right now, we're currently I've got a couple stumps, stretch smokers up mounted on the back of a trailer, and they're a gravity-fed unit. Really like those. And then I have a new Jamie Gear, a Jambo pit that just got about a month ago, and that's sitting in the garage, and it's been out a couple times now too. So I love them both. It's just a matter of weather, and do you want to cook out of a tent, or would you rather cook out of a trailer?
So, they're two different smokers altogether. One's charcoal-driven. The Jambo is a stick burner. Traditionally, do you think that at some point the stumps are going to get retired to the garage and Jambo is going to be the only one you're pulling?
Boy, that's a tough question. I think they both do a great job. It's a matter of, do you want to, the stumps I can walk away from for 8 hours before I need to refill it, and they're hard mounted on the trailer, and boy, getting in the air, fat old guy, it's kind of nice to get out of the weather and have the bed and the air conditioning, and the gear, I love it. I love messing with the fire. I love messing with the logs and the whole thing, and I think each cooker does certain items better than the other, and maybe someday we'll have one of each mounted on a trailer, something like that.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, we got to have fun. Got to have a little fun doing this, and I don't know. It could happen. We'll see.
All right, so you mentioned that you like playing with the fire aspect in the Jambo pit. A question that comes to mind that I've asked a number of the other competitors here on the show, especially the guys that, you see the FE cookers that are out there. Of course, they're doing a bang-up job. They're winning a large portion of the competitions during the course of any given weekend. And then you have the other type cookers, for instance, like a Stumps or a Big Green Egg that have these automatic pit temperature control devices. Can't put those, well, you could put them on a Jambo, but traditionally you would never see those on a Jambo pit. These guys are tending fire either very early in the morning in a power cook fashion, or they're doing it all night for low and slow. Do you think, in your estimation, you've been doing this for long enough, do you think there has been a dumbing down of fire management, or there is a portion of barbecue in the fire management aspect that has been taken away because of the technology advancements?
Oh, boy, that's a loaded question.
Isn't it?
Yes, I guess. I don't, it's a tough one. No matter what you're cooking on, you still have to, know the cooker a little bit and get the right meat and the right seasoning and all that. But I think there's something about a well-built stick burner that you can't duplicate with any other cooker. And I've probably owned 100 cookers in the last 8 years. And a well-built stick burner, a Jamie Gear pit, a Dave Close pit, those type of things that burn clean, and it's just a flavor to me that you can't duplicate with anything else, and I love that. It's just a matter of, again, do you want to put the time into it? Do you want to stay up half the night, tending it and that kind of thing? And when you're cooking alone, sometimes you make I hate to use the word sacrifices, because it's not, but I've done the pellet thing, and that sometimes had its challenges, with making sure the power was right and the auger didn't jam and that type of thing. And then when these stump cookers came out, I thought that's the perfect thing for me. I can walk away from it for 8 hours, and there's nothing mechanical. I don't have to worry about anything breaking down, and so I love them. But again, I love a clean burning stick burner, and that's my first love, and it'll probably be my last love, I imagine.
Oh, I totally agree. And so to that end, I mean, knowing that the cook has to know their cooker, and earlier in the year the KCBS was fooling around, at least in the BOD, about potentially letting in propane cookers into the competition mix as well. Are you someone that would be completely for or completely against, or do you not really have a care either way if they were allowed in?
Well, if you want the politically correct answer, I would say, like a lot of people when they're quoted on the forum or on shows like this, will bring it all on. I'm not that guy. I think propane's got its place, but no, I'm not for allowing it. Definitely not.
Is it just because of the fuel source being propane and not any type of wood base then?
I think so. Then I guess you might as well just allow crock pots and, microwave ovens and Kenmore ovens and where do you draw the line? Where do you stop? And I guess I'm just kind of a traditional sort of a guy. And if people want those things, that's fine. Cook on them at home, and maybe there'll be a circuit that's going to allow that, and more power to them. But I think KCBS should stay with what it's got. I think it's fine.
All right, so let's look back over this past weekend in Hazelwood. You come away with an 8th place overall finish. Given the success you've had this year, is that a performance that, in your estimation, might be a little disappointing, or in your estimation, is something like a top 10 finish always going to be welcome in the camp, regardless of it not being a reserve or a grand championship?
So, well, I'll tell you what, we don't drive 10 hours to come in 10th or to come in 8th. It's you just don't. It was a little disappointing. We had some issues with a cooker and a guru that I had hooked up. One of the probes got pinched, and we thought we were cooking at 220 degrees and didn't pay attention. It's my own fault, and walked away for 5 hours, and it was more like 310. So it it makes a big difference. So no, I wasn't happy with 8th, and I don't know. Just like I said, you just go on to the next one and hope to do a little bit better. But there's so many good teams out here now, and so many of them that you go and you've never heard of some of these guys, and man, over the winter, all of a sudden they come out and bang, 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 and the competition is much, much tougher, I think, than it was when I first got started, and I don't know if it's it's the internet and it's guys giving classes and just people talking and it's just such great cooks out there. So I'm hoping for better. Let's just put it that way. But I'm not surprised when you get that 10th or get that 15th or get that 20th place. It's just too many good cooks out there.
So when you're when you're going out to a competition, are you strictly set on at least pulling one or two in the position overall, or do you think that regardless it's really going to be a crapshoot given judges? And because Rod Gray was on a couple of weeks ago and he had mentioned that he didn't think that competition barbecue was technically a sport, because he doesn't classify anything that you could do while drinking a beer, so that pretty much shoots bowling and golf in the ass as well. But he said that he could do everything right on his portion, but then he's turning it over to a judging table, and basically it's subjective at that point, which is basically taking the sport, quote unquote, out of it. Are you along the same lines as that then?
I think Rod's right. I think it's definitely crapshoot. I've turned in stuff that was I'm probably more critical of what I turn in than the judges will ever be. I half the time I think everything stinks, to tell you the truth, and it's a crapshoot. It definitely is. I would love to turn in the same thing at 2 or 3 different tables during one contest just to see, how things would score differently, and I think we all know how that'd turn out. But I don't know. It's definitely a crapshoot, and as far as it being a sport, well, I don't know. It feels like a sport some weekends. It did this last weekend, diving out of the back of the truck, and the long drives and up all night, and I guess I would consider it a sport.
All right, so this is John Nilges saying that barbecue competition is a sport, and he's from Parrot Head Smokers. You had mentioned it being a crapshoot, so I guess the first thing that pops into my mind is, what's if it's a crapshoot and you can't, or obviously you couldn't bank on a win, regardless, but given different set of circumstances or taking away some of the crapshoot opportunity out of it, what's the driving force behind you doing this? And if you're going to, spend the money, we've heard from any number of competitors out there that this is extremely expensive. There's cost, and you know better than anybody. You got to pay, cost and mileage on the car to get out there. You got to pay your entry fee. It's the meat. It's all the other ingredients that are going into the meat. It's fuel for the cookers, and then if you're spending a night in a hotel maybe, and then you're driving back. If you don't win some money out there, it's straight expense.
Yeah, it really is. I think my goals and what I expect have changed almost every year that I've come out. First year the bar was don't come in last. Just don't get embarrassed and don't come in last. And next year was maybe get one call. The next year was go to a contest. The goal was get 2 calls and then 3 calls and then, and then the top 5 and then it was to win a contest. So things have just kind of progressed for me, and now I kind of go and I'm hoping for, you're hoping for top 10. You're hoping for a little bit better than that, and you're still hoping you don't come in last in anything, of course. And as far as motivation, I don't know anymore. I'm not sure why I go there. It's fun. Obviously, it's fun. The competition part of it, I love it, and the people, I love it, and these small towns that you go to, and you get to meet the public, and they've got, the fair thing going on and the parade thing going on. It's just small town. I just love that stuff. I think that's why I go.
Sounds good to me. Why not get out and meet and greet the people for sure?
Great
John,
time.
Do you taste your turn-ins before you run them?
I taste. I will taste my chicken after I've turned that in.
Now hold on a second. Now wait a second. Why?
Well, because that's the way Kelly Wirt said to do it. So I figure, 4 legs up. When if he ever gives up any cooking tips, by golly, I'll take it. And so, no, chicken I'll taste afterwards. There's nothing much I can do to it at that point. Ribs, I'll cook 3, maybe 4 racks, and I'll taste 1 rib off each one of those racks. Pork, I don't taste. And brisket, I cook 2, and I'll taste both of those before I turn it in.
So pork and chicken is basically, whatever you've done to it, when it comes off, you're not tasting it because there's nothing dramatic that you can, in I guess, would only be in an improvement situation. There's nothing that you can do to improve how it's tasting at that point in order to run it over and get a better score. Right.
There's nothing I can do. I really can't taste a whole heck of a lot for about 2 hours after I'm done competing. It's the smoke and the dirt and the dust and the grease, and your nose is overwhelmed, your taste buds are overwhelmed, and hopefully I've cooked this stuff over the winter that especially cooking in the stumps, it's going to turn out the same every single time, just about. And I want to make those adjustments at home where my palate is fresh, just everything is fresh, and when I get to a competition, I don't know that I trust my taste buds at that point to make any adjustments anyway. I'm only looking for which one is overcooked, undercooked, and moist, and that's all I'm looking for at that point.
John Nilges joining us, Parrot Head Smokers, right here on the Barbecue Central show. John, I've been talking with some cooks about the KCBS, and certainly everyone is going to have some gripes here and there regardless of sanctioning body. So let's go ahead and start this way. What's good about KCBS? What do you like? And then, of course, follow that up with some items that you might like to see improved on.
Oh, boy. That's the judging system. People have moaned and groaned about that. I've got no beef with it. I think it's fine. The double blind thing is great. I would hate to ever do the Memphis and May style on-site thing, so I love the double blind, and I don't have a whole lot of gripes about the way they're doing it. The garnish thing, if you ask me today, I would say keep it. I think it helps make a better box and can hide a few things. If you ask me Friday night when I'm building the box, I'd say get rid of the stuff. I hate it. So I kind of go back and forth on the garnish thing, but I think they do a good job. It seems like it's a fair system for everybody.
Have you ever seen a situation or heard about a situation where garnish has increased somebody's score whose barbecue in the box wasn't as good as somebody's next to them? And is that not a case where perhaps it should be looked at to be removed, or at least taking out of it sits in that optional state, which I've always referred to as a gray area, and I don't know why the membership doesn't either vote it in as mandatory so everybody has to use it and everybody's got to learn how to do it well in order to compete, or vote it out, but take it out of that optional state. Yeah,
I think if you're going to put it in there, if you're not real confident in what you're doing and you're going to do the what I would say the Pitmaster show, what a couple of them boxes look like from our friend down in Texas, that type of thing, you might as well not put it in at all. I think you're better putting none in than you are putting a little bit in there and just making it look real bad. I don't know. I go both ways on the garnish thing. I could take it or leave it, I guess.
Point of contention for years to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right, so if you had the opportunity, and this kind of ties back in a little bit with the expense of going out and doing these competitions, if you had the opportunity to compete in a competition series that had payouts similar to the Smoke on the Water event that took place a few weeks back, but the payouts were like that every time. Let's say there was 12 or 15 of these particular events, but they were not sanctioned by KCBS. Would you rather do those kind of events in hopes for a substantially bigger payout, or would you stay with the KCBS regardless, just due to allegiance to the sanctioning body?
Well, I had an opportunity to do the one down, a couple of those already, and I guess I passed on both of them. Right now, I'm only going to do a sanctioned contest. It's I don't know. I guess I'm loyal to KCBS. I've been a member for years now, and that's if not the first thing, the second thing that I look for in an application. Is it sanctioned or not? I'm not going to do them if they're not. And my second thing is, is it a qualifier? Because I want to get to the Jack. I want to get to the American Royal Invitational. Cooking for money is great, but I guess I have other priorities, and those are making sure I'm going to a good contest that's run fair and support those guys and support KCBS and try to get in the Jack and the Royal. So, cooking for the money is great and all, but that's not my first priority when I go out and do a contest.
Do you think that
you'd asked about what would I change with KCBS? I would like to see them pull the membership a little bit more on some issues, like you talked about propane and pellets and garnish and some of that stuff. I would like to see them have some way that they could pull the members and just do a non-binding a poll and find out what we think as a group. Right now, as far as I know, they have really no clue.
How do you fix that? How do you poll the members? Is it email? Is it something?
I would think the same way that you're sending out a ballot every year. Just do it by email. It seems to me. I'm glad we're doing the interview over the phone because I'm pretty technically challenged, as all my friends will tell me or tell you. But I would think you could just do it the same way that how we vote for the board. Just send it out. How do you people feel about this? It's not a binding thing, but at least I don't know.
Getting the pulse of the barbecue community for KCBS.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. John, where are you going to be competing at next?
Richmond, Missouri, and then down near Kansas City this weekend, and then I think we're going to take a weekend off, and then, oh boy, I don't know, Omaha and Minnesota and Colorado, and going to hit it pretty hard after that again for a few weeks.
How many miles are you going to be racking up this year, do you think, anticipated?
Oh boy, that's I put about 50,000 on last year on the truck. And I'll bet we're real close to that this year because there's been a lot. I've been down to Lakeland, Florida, Pensacola, Florida, Slidell, Louisiana, Lake Havasu, Arizona, Great Bend, Kansas, and boy, it's probably put on 20 already. It feels like, and we're not even to May.
Yeah, no kidding. He's John Nilges. He's the pitmaster of Parrot Head Smokers, currently ranked second in the Kansas City Barbecue Society Team of the Year race. He was finished 13 overall, both 2008 and 2009. John, appreciate you coming on tonight and giving us a little history about Parrot Head Smokers, and especially a lot of the candor and insight just in barbecue in general. We'll look to have you back on again soon. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Nice to be here. Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care. There he is, John Nilges, Parrot Head Smokers. Well worth the wait. Glad I hung on. Glad I didn't sign off in 15 seconds after Lust for Life came up. Thank God. But now I can. Thanks for hanging with me if you did. But I see a good portion of you did. Big John Nilges fans. Big Parrot Head Smoker fans. Should be. We're doing very, very good this year. Ooh, Cavs win series 96-94. Good job, LeBron. You're next, Boston. Get ready for that supreme ass-kicking that I've promised you. All right, thanks again to John Nilges from Parrot Head Smokers. First hour, Tim Carlson from Hearthland Products, Memphis Grill Maker. Also, Harry the Horse breaking down Kentucky Derby. Big show next week, so be sure to tune in for that until we meet again at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Tuesday. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.